Hello dear children, welcome back. This is Hemant Devre. Today we are going to learn the remaining topics of lesson number 8 from history, vital villages and thriving towns. In part 1 and part 2 we have learnt about the use of iron tools, the techniques to increase the agricultural productions and the things like ring wells and all, finding sculptures and all. So today in continuation of that same we will learn about the remaining topics of lesson. See, we have seen that many of the cities have developed from about 2500 years ago and were capitals of the Mahajanpadas and all. So you have learnt about this in chapter 5. We have learned about Janapadas and Mahajanpadas. So as we had seen, some of these cities were surrounded by massive fortification walls. That fortification was done by the king of that kingdom particular, or the Janapadas or Mahajanpadas, to protect from their enemies. So we have seen that, okay. So in many of the cities, the archaeologists, when they go for excavation and all, they have found the row of pots. See, they have found such row of pots. Okay. So here, what they can understand from such a excavation when they were doing, so they found that the row of pots or ceramic rings arranged one on top of the other. So these seems to be the ring wells like. These seem to have been used as a toilet in some cases and as drains in garbage dumps as well. So these ring wells are usually found in individual houses at that time. So archaeologists have come to the conclusion that these ring wells made up of some ceramics and all used as a toilet some cases and drain as well as somewhere garbage dumps and were used by the individual houses. So we have hardly any remains of the palaces, markets, or homes of the ordinary people. Perhaps we can tell that it to be discovered by the archaeologist. Others made of wood, mud, brick, and that house may not be survived because according to the weathering processes and all that, they may not be existed. Another way of finding out about early cities in from the accounts of the sellers. So how do we come to know about the cities and all? So there are travelers, there were some people those who were visiting other places, and we have seen about the Fayan and all. So they have noted down their travelers and all. So sailors also have come, they travel from that place to another place, one place to another. So one of them most detailed account has been given by the unknown Greek sailor, and he has described a port. Okay, and he has written about the Bharuch. So we can see that on map 7 on page number 5, and we can read this about the description of the city. So he had written about the story of Barigaza. Okay, the Greek name for Bharuch. Bharuch is situated in Gujarat. Okay, so the Gulf of Narrow at Barigaza. Barigaza is another name of Bharuch and very hard to navigate for those coming to the sea. Ship had to be steered by the skillful and experienced local fishermen who were employed by the king. Those who were only able to steer that ship very skillfully. And the imports into Berigaza were what they were means Greek people used to bring to the Bharuch port, that was wine, copper, tin, lead, coral, topaz, cloth, gold, silver coins. And what they were carrying back from Bharuch means exports from Bharuch were they were included like the plants from Himalayas, ivory, agate, the carnelian, cotton, silk, and perfume. These all were some precious gems were carried away by the Greek people from Bharuch. Special gifts were bought by the merchant, those who were coming to the Bharuch port for the king, proper that local king they used to bring. And these included vessels of silver, singing boys, beautiful women, fine wines, and fine clothes. So we can make the list of the things which were imported and which were exported from the this information. Now let us move ahead with the another source, that is coins. We have learned about the coins, and these are also resources of history. So you may have noticed we measure the wealth in terms of coins. Nowadays we measure in terms of money and rupee, whatever we have, right? So in story of page number 82, archaeologists have found several thousands of coins belonging to this period. They have found some coins and they come to the conclusion that these coins might have belonged to the period of this area, this time and all. So the earliest coins which were used for about 500 years ago they were punched mark coins, and they are shown here in the figure. You can see, okay, these are punch mark coins. You can see. Now let us learn about more about the punch mark coins. They were generally in shape like rectangular. Sometimes they were square, or sometimes they found in round shape as well. Either they cut off metal sheet or made of the flattened metal globules. You can say a small spherical body. The coins were not inscribed. Yeah, they were not inscribed like inscriptions. They were actually stamped with the symbols using dies or punches. That's why they are called the punch mark coins. And these coins are found over most parts of the subcontinent or India and remain circulation till they were circulated till the early centuries. That is what about the coins we have learned. We have learned about the ports, we have learned about the coins, also the archaeologist things. Okay, we have learned about ring wells as well. Now what were the other means of exchange? Here the poem is given. This you can learn, you can read. Okay, let us learn this poem from Sangam collection. Okay, as they carry white paddy of their land to exchange it for the salt of another. It means paddy was exchanged with salt. Crossing the long roads in carts through sand white as moonlight, taking whole families who hate to be left behind. The departure of the salt merchants leave the city empty. Okay. Now salt was produced plentifully along with the sea coast. So what are the merchants planning to exchange it with? They are planning with exchange to paddy with salt. Okay, they are traveling by carts. Now there are this about the exchange and exchange of the goods and things. Now there are many cities. That time also there were many cities that had many functions. One of the example is given from the Mathura. Mathura has been very important settlement for more than 2500 years ago. It was important because it was located at the crossroads of two major routes, travel trades, from northwest to the east and from north to south. These two were very important routes that time for the traders. That's why it was very important in function. There were fortifications around the city. It was quite protected also. Several shrines were there. Farmers and herders from adjoining areas, they provide food for people in the city. So that was very easy for the communication as well as to exchange the goods with the people. Mathura was also center where some extremely fine sculpture was also produced. Now, 2000, around 2000 years ago, Mathura became the second capital of Kushana. We will learn about this in chapter number 9. Now, Mathura was also religious center. There were Buddhist monasteries, Jaina shrines, and it was an important culture of worship of Krishna. Several inscriptions on surfaces such as stone slabs and statues have been found in Mathura. And generally these short inscriptions recording gift made by men, sometimes women as well, to monasteries and shrines. It was gift. These were made by king and queens, officers, merchants and craftspersons, those who lived in the city. For example, one example is given here, inscription from Mathura. Mention goldsmiths, means these were people in that inscription. It is given that these many kind of people who lived there with the different professions like goldsmith, blacksmiths, weavers, basket makers, garland makers and perfumers. So we can make the list of the people of the occupation, those who lived in Mathura. Now crafts and craft person, we know that archaeological evidence for craft. So these include extremely fine pottery known as the northern black polished ware. We have learned about this NBPW, and it got its name from the fact that generally found in the northern part of the subcontinent. That's why northern black polished ware. So NBPW is a very hard one, wheel made metallic looking ware with shiny black surface. The potter used to expose the earthware to very high temperature, okay, in his kiln, which resulted in the blackening of its outer surface, and a fine black chip, that slip was also applied on this, which gave the pottery a minor, okay, a mirror like shine. So this was another one. And let us learn about the shredis. Many craftsperson, okay, many craftsperson, they were associated with this religion. Now merchants and craftsperson, they formed the associations, and that was named as shrenis. So these shreni, okay, of craftsperson provided training, they produced raw material, they distributed the finished products. Then shrenis of merchant organized the trade. Shrenis also serve as banks where rich men and women deposited their money. This was Okay, this was invested and part of interest was returned to the people or to use or support religious institution as monasteries. Now there were some spinning and weaving activities. So for that, one rule for them it is also given in this one. So you can read it as per your time and all. You can find it in textbook. Please read it from the Artha Shastra chapter mentioned in chapter 7. What is given here? Okay. Now Arikamedu, another port in Puducherry. It is there. You can find on page number 105 of map 7. Okay. So, and read the box on Rome on page number 88. Between 2200 and 1900 years ago, Arikamedu was a coastal settlement where ships unloaded goods from the distant land. Okay, means it was a very important port where the ship used to carry the goods from the very distant places and it was unloaded there. A massive brick structure which may have been warehouse was found at the site. Archaeology people have found this and they have noted down about this. Means it was a fortified one. Fortification was there. Massive brick structure they found. It was like a warehouse. Other find they include the pottery from the Mediterranean region, such as the amphorae or tall double handled jars contain liquids such as wine or oils. So and stamped as red glazed pottery known as the Artine ware. Nowadays we say no Tupperware and all like that. This was Artine ware. Now this was made by pressing wet clay into stamp mold. There was yet another kind of pottery which was made locally. Though Roman designs were used, Roman lamps, glasswares, and gems have also been found at the site. So this was the information about the Arikamed. You can see here Tamil Brahmi inscriptions here on these several pieces of pottery, and okay, which was used to write in Tamil. Small tanks have been also found there by archaeologists, were probably dyeing worths. They used to dye the cloth. There is plenty of evidences, okay, for making of the beds from the semi-precious stones like glass. Now this is what about we have learned from this lesson: the vital villages and the thriving towns. Means the information whatever we have learned, that is important one for us to understand about the activities, the economical and the other activities associated with the people from that time. Thank you so much for this. Okay, and you have to keep your textbook with you for the better understanding. Thank you so much.